Hey everybody, CardBandit here today, and in episode 5 of Card Smarts, we're going to be going over arm spreads. So, hey everybody, CardBandit here today, and with the episode 5 of Card Smarts coming up, what I'm going to be doing is going over some basic arm spreads, just basically how to do a forward arm spread and a back arm spread, and even the one vertically that I showed in sort of like the intro to Card Smarts type thing. So anyway, that's basically all I'm going to be doing, and then in the next week I'm actually going to be going over arm tosses and catches, just because I was filming and then I realized that, hey, look at me, I've got way too much footage for just arm spreads and catches, so I want to go over one and then go over another. I know a lot of you probably know how to do the basic arm spreads, and so this is just a detailed version for you beginners out there who may or may not know how to do arm spreads. Alrighty, let's get into it, guys. So there are two types of arm spreads, and it really helps to know the ribbon spread. Now the ribbon spread, you're usually spreading the cards out from this way using your index finger to spread the cards. And that's going to give you the general motion of how to do arm spreads, but with arm spreads you're usually spreading the opposite way to get them to go up your arm. So that's the only difference. So instead of spreading with your index finger, you're going to be spreading with your ring finger and your middle finger primarily. So there are two primary types of arm spreads. The first one being going along the back of the arm like that, and then the next one being going along the other side of the arm, strangely enough, like that. So when you're doing the one along the back of the arm, it's pretty straightforward. I feel like it's more straightforward than doing the one on the front of the arm. So what you're going to be doing is you're going to make sure that your wrist is straight or in line with the arm, because if your wrist is bent up, either way, the cards will fall off this way, or they're going to get caught at the wrist if it's bent up too much. So you have your wrist in line with your arm. You're going to bring your hand along the tips of your fingers, usually leaving the fingertips free because it won't spread well off of the fingertips. You don't have enough friction. So, whoops. From here you're going to get into sort of like a modified mechanics grip. So your mechanics grip, your regular mechanics grip is like that. You sort of remove the index finger, and then you just have these three fingers along the side. From here you're going to do sort of that reverse ribbon spread that I talked about, where you've got these, your index finger and your middle finger spreading the cards, and then you just spread them along the back of the arm. Just like that. Now, so one thing you have to keep in mind when you're positioning the cards is if it's too far on either side, they're going to fall off whenever you do the spread. So what I like to do is I like to line up the center with my middle finger. That's usually where I like to place the cards, with the center of the deck lined up along the middle finger, and then you just spread the cards from there. So that covers the back of the arm. The other way is from the front of the arm, which is a little bit more tricky, because with the back of the arm it's really easy to get your arm aligned and to have a flatter surface. However, with the front, you'll notice that you've got where your hand comes off of your wrist a little bit, and that causes a lot of people problems, because as you see, if you try to spread over top of that little bump, it can split the cards or separate them, which isn't what you want if you're trying to spread all the way up your arm. In order to counteract that, you've got to tilt your wrist up a little bit. So your hand has to come up a little bit, and that creates a more straight line between here and your arm, because it shortens the distance over top of that little lump there. So it's pretty much creating a straight line between here and your wrist, or shortening that gap. In this case, you do want your wrist bent up a little bit. And I'm not talking about really exaggerated upward. I mean, it's just like, here's flat, tilt up a little bit. From here, you should be able to spread the cards nicely on your arm. This will take a bit of practice, however, because if you're not used to it, it'll still, even if you tilt your wrist up, it's still going to be a little bit tricky to get the cards to go over top if you're not used to spreading the cards in the manner that I talked about, where you're pretty much spreading with your ring finger and your middle finger, right? So if you're not used to that, I would recommend practicing on a flat surface, doing like a reverse ribbon spread as opposed to like your regular ribbon spread, just to get used to it. So where I like to position the cards, once again, I like to actually position the middle over top of the middle finger. That I find usually gives me the best spread. I tilt the wrist, and then I spread along the arm. So once you're able to get that spread down, if you want to turn over the spread, here's what I would recommend you do. I would recommend you place a thumb on the back card of the spread. If you don't, it becomes much trickier because you're still trying to get over that little bump here, and if you turn over the spread, sometimes it can cause the cards to go haywire along that section right there where your wrist meets your hand, that wrist joint there. So in order to counteract that, you keep a little bit of pressure here with your thumb, okay, and that'll allow the cards to maintain a little bit more pressure and keep together easier. Then you're going to take your middle finger and your ring finger and turn them over to start turning over the spread, and you have to have a little bit of momentum in order to carry over the spread into your thumb. Okay, so it goes into the crotch of the thumb and then you can collect it. So just from the front angle here, I've got the cards. I tilt the wrist up a little bit so this is straight, up a little bit. Spread out the cards. Keep my thumb along the back card here to add a little bit of pressure. These two fingers start flipping over the spread. As it comes to here, I tilt my thumb back, I guess, a little bit in order to get the spread to go into the thumb, and then I can collect. So I guess I did forget to mention that. So if you've got your thumb on the back of the spread, as it comes over, if you have too much pressure along that last card, it's not going to flip over with the rest of the spread. Once it's past the wrist, you can bring your thumb down to your arm and let the rest of the cards flip over into the crotch of the thumb, and you can collect them. Or you can do it without having the thumb as pressure, but it becomes a lot trickier once you get to the end of the arm. So another more advanced spread is actually being able to tilt the deck vertically on your arm. So in order to get the deck to go vertical on your arm, it's actually a lot trickier than you might think. What I like to do is I actually like to spread the cards more along the side of my arm. By spreading them more along the side, so the center line lines up with the side of my arm. Okay, you see how it's more on the side instead of being on the flat surface of my arm? What that'll do is that when I tilt the deck upward, it'll put the deck more in the center of the arm. I start spreading out on the side, leaving enough cards to do a reverse spread. So I spread the cards one way and then I use my thumb to spread them the other way. I grab them this side with my thumb and my middle finger pinching the deck. And then as I tilt up with this wrist, I'm going to tilt my arm over. So my arm will be flat. Because currently my arm is not flat, I'll tilt it over so it is flat as I tilt up the cards. And that is what allows the cards to be more in the center of your arm, and you should be able to get them vertical. I'm not going to go into a whole bunch of detail on this. I would feel like it's fairly advanced in order to get that spread on your arm. So maybe just try it out, practice it, and see whether you can do it yourself. Alright everybody, and that was my basic outlook on how to do arm spreads. So I know this was tailored more towards beginners. I went into quite a bit of detail on how to do the spreads, probably too much for just basic arm spreads, but I did want to tailor this video more towards beginners who may not know how to do the spreads at all. So that's sort of where I was going with this video, and like I said, next week we're going to be working on arm tosses and catches and a whole bunch of different variations on those. So hopefully you look forward to that. Thank you guys for watching. As always, feel free to do anything you like with the buttons. You know all of them anyway. And thank you so much again, and I will, as always, catch you later.